The various means of protecting the consumers is through self-regulation by business. Third one is the central government or the state government. They can also file a complaint against the business organization. The third kind of relief given to the consumer is to refund the price paid for the product or the charges paid for the service. How do they make them aware of the consumer rights? By organizing training programs. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence. In the second session on consumer protection, we will be just discussing about the various means of consumer protection. Now, let us see what are the various means through which consumer protection can be sought. Now, the first one is the self-regulation by business. Now, the various means of protecting the consumers is through self-regulation by business. Now, most of the business firms, they are getting more and more aware that a satisfied customer will go a long way in improving the business. So, they are themselves coming forward to see that the consumers' grievances are properly heard. They are setting up grievance cells in their own organizations, and if any of the consumer of their product, if he has any grievance, then they can be properly heard at their organization itself, and then they can get proper relief through their own organization. So this is one way of achieving consumer protection. Now, the second means of consumer protection is through business associations. Now, what do we mean by business associations? They are associations formed by almost all the business organizations, that is trade and commerce. Those are all engaged in trade and commerce activities. They come together and form an association called as the business association. Now, these associations have laid down a code of conduct for all the members who are there, and they have laid down the code of conduct for dealings with the consumers. So, as a result of which the consumer is properly protected. Then, third one is consumer awareness. The third means of consumer protection is through consumer awareness. Now, it is necessary for the consumer to be aware of his rights and duties. So, in this way, he can raise a voice if he has been duped by any of the business community, or if any of the product has dissatisfied him, then he can usually approach the court and get proper redressal for his grievances. The next one is consumer organizations. Now, there are various consumer organizations who are educating the people about their various rights and duties, and it is essential for all the consumers to know what are their rights and duties and to see that they are properly dealt with. And then these consumer organizations are there, so they will raise a voice against the consumers who have been exploited by the business fraternity and see that proper relief is given to such consumers. So the proper relief can be in the form of replacing the product or giving compensation for any injury, or also removing the defects in the product. So in this way, the consumer organizations are there to ensure that the consumer gets heard every time he has been exploited by the business community. Then, the fifth means of consumer protection is through the government. The government has set up so many legal provisions for the protection of the consumers. In addition to that, it has set up a toll-free number also, and any of the consumer who has been exploited, he can just call the toll-free number and register his complaint. In addition to all this, the government has also given various acts and provisions under which he has been properly protected and he can get relief for all his grievances. Now, let us look into what are the various redressal agencies under the Consumer Protection Act. Now, these redressal agencies, they have defined who is a consumer. A consumer is any person who makes use of the product. Whether he has paid for the product fully or partly, that is not the matter here. Now, here the main matter is who is to be defined as a consumer. Then next is, after we have the definition of the consumer, we have to know who can file a complaint against these agencies. That is, against the business community, whether it is the consumer himself or any others. So all these have been laid down by the redressal agencies. Now, first, the consumer is the person who actually makes use of the product. So he is the consumer. This we know. But then, if he has made part payment, can he be considered as a consumer? Yes, he can be considered as a consumer even though the product has not been fully paid, or if he has made only part payment also, he can be considered as a consumer. Then the next question is, who can file a complaint against this business organization? First thing is, it is the consumer himself. He can file a complaint. The actual consumer of the product can file a complaint against such business organizations who have sold such hazardous products. Then next one is, the consumer organizations, they can also file a complaint on behalf of any one of the consumer. Then third one is, the central government or the state government, they can also file a complaint against the business organization. Then we also have the legal heirs or the representatives of the deceased consumer. Suppose if the consumer has died because of consuming such spurious goods, then his legal heir or his dependents, they can always file a complaint under Section 2B of the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. So he can also register a complaint against any of the business community. Now let us look into what are the various redressal agencies under this Consumer Protection Act. Now the first redressal agency is the District Forum. The District Commission has a jurisdiction to entertain complaints where value of goods or services paid as consideration does not exceed 20 lakhs. Now, in case any of the consumer has been exploited by the business community, he can always approach the district forum. So, this district forum will be set up by the state government of that particular state, and this district forum will have usually 3 members. There will be 1 president and 2 members, and in this, one of the member has to be a woman. And then this district forum, it has been empowered to take up cases wherein the cost of the product and the compensation does not exceed more than 20 lakhs. Now, if there is any complaint regarding the product will be sent to the laboratory and the test report will be examined by the district forum, and if the manufacturer is found guilty, then he will have to pay the compensation to the aggrieved party. And then if any of the parties are not satisfied by the order of the district commission, they can appeal against such order to the state commission on the grounds of facts or law within a period of 30 days from the date of the order. Now, after the district forum, it gives its decision, and any of the parties are not satisfied with the judgment given by the district forum, they can always approach the state commission. Now, this state commission will take up only if the appeal has been made only within 30 days from the date of the order. Now, the next redressal agencies for consumer protection is the State Commission. So, as you all know, this is the second redressal agency set up under the Consumer Protection Act. Now, this State Commission also has 1 president and 2 members, of which 1 has to be a woman or a lady member. Then, it is established by the respective state government and ordinarily function at the state capital. So, this state commission usually will be at the state capital. So, the district forum will be at the district level, and then the state commission will be at the state capital, and the state commission has a jurisdiction to entertain any complaints where value of goods and services paid as consideration exceeds 20 lakhs but does not exceed 1 crore rupees. Now, this state commission, it will entertain all those complaints which are more than 20 lakhs but less than 1 crore of rupees. So the products should not be of a higher value than 1 crore. So it is the responsibility of the State Commission to see that the consumer is given a proper hearing. So if any of the parties who have gone to the district forum, if they are not satisfied with the verdict of the district forum, they can always go in for the State Commission. They can go appeal, and then they can get proper relief for their grievances. So the next redressal agencies under the Consumer Protection Act is the National Commission. So as you all know, this National Commission has been set up by the central government, and it will have one president and 4 members. Out of there should be 1 lady member, and this National Commission, it will have a patient hearing of both the sides, that is the aggrieved party and the business community, and then it will take a decision. And then if there is a complaint against any of the products, or if there is a complaint against any of the service providers, so it will look into the matter, and if it is the product which is spurious, it will be sent to the laboratory, and the test report of the laboratory will be judged, and then later it will be giving the judgment. Now this National Commission has the power to decide cases where the product and the compensation exceeds 1 crore of rupees. So the National Commission has territorial jurisdiction over the whole country. So the entire nation, if they are not satisfied with the district forum, or if they are not satisfied with the State Commission, they can always take an appeal to the National Commission. So it has the jurisdiction to entertain complaints where value of goods and services paid consideration exceeds 1 crore of rupees. So if any of the consumer has been exploited to the tune of 1 crore of rupees, he can always go to the State Commission and get proper redressal for his grievances. So these are the various redressal agencies which have been set up by the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. Then let us see what are the various kind of relief available for the consumers. Where the district, state or national commission is satisfied about the defect in goods or deficiency in services or any unfair trade practices or claim for compensation under product liability, issues an order. So where the district or the state, if they feel that there is a deficiency in services, or there is a defect in goods, or there is an unfair trade practice, then it will give proper relief. Now, what are the various kinds of relief it will give to the consumers? Let us have a look here. Now, here first one is to remove the defect in goods or deficiency in service. Suppose the goods which have been sold to the consumer is of a defective quality, then they can always tell that particular business firm to remove that goods. Then second one is to replace the defective product with the new one free from any defect. Suppose the consumer has been sold a defective product, then such defective product should be replaced with the new one. Then the third kind of relief given to the consumer is to refund the price paid for the product or the charges paid for the service. Now, the third kind of relief which it will order is, one thing is it can order the business firm to refund the price paid for the product or charges paid for the service. So whatever charges has been paid, so it has to be refunded by that particular business community. Then next kind of relief is to pay a reasonable amount of compensation for any loss or injury suffered by the consumer due to the negligence of the opposite party. Suppose the consumer has got certain injuries because of the hazardous products, then the court may order to give a compensation for that kind of injuries or to the health of that particular person. So the compensation for any loss or injury suffered by the consumer due to the negligence of the opposite party. So he has to be properly compensated by the business organization. Then to pay punitive damages in appropriate circumstances. The redressal agencies may order the business community to pay punitive damages under appropriate circumstances. Then, the next kind of relief available is to discontinue the unfair restrictive trade practice and not to repeat it in future. So, any of the business community is found to be dealing with unfair trade practices, then it can always order such business firms to shut down or not to continue such unfair trade practices in future. Then the next kind of relief available is not to offer hazardous goods for sale. So such hazardous goods which are affecting the health of the consumer, such of those goods should not be offered for sale or to withdraw the hazardous goods from sale. So they should not offer or they have to withdraw such hazardous goods. Then the next kind of relief available is compensate for any loss or injury suffered by the consumer under product liability action and withdraw hazardous products from being offered for sale. Suppose they have already sold such hazardous products, then they have to give proper compensation to the consumer and they should see that such kind of hazardous products have been withdrawn from the market and they don't engage in production of such products and then offer them for sale. Then the next, we look into the role of consumer organizations and NGOs. Now, the first role is educating the general public about consumer rights by organizing training programs, seminars and workshops. Now, it is the duty of the consumer organizations and the NGOs to see that the general public are aware of their consumer rights. Now, how do they make them aware of the consumer rights? By organizing training programs. So, they'll give training programs to various consumer organizations to see that their consumers are more aware of their rights and responsibilities. They will also see that there are proper seminars and workshops. So, from time to time, they will be holding seminars and workshops. Through they will be giving the consumers their what are the various provisions under which they are being protected. Then publishing periodicals and other publications to impart knowledge about consumer problems, legal reporting, reliefs available and other matters of interest. Now, here it is the duty of the consumer organizations to see that the consumers know what is going on in the society. Suppose if any of the consumer has got a redressal from the government, then what were the various problems he has faced and how he has been given the relief by the government and the business community. So, all this will be published in various journals. So, whenever the consumer knows that he is being exploited, so he can always raise his voice and see that he has been properly heard and compensated. Then, the next, the role of consumer organization is carrying out comparative testing of consumer products in accredited laboratories to test relative qualities of competing brands and publishing the test results for the benefit of consumers. Now, this is a very important function of the consumer organizations. Nowadays, we know that most of the businessmen resort to spurious raw materials to see that they get more profits. Now, these consumer organizations, they are testing the consumer products which are available in the market. They are doing a comparative testing of the products and to see that what are the kind of raw materials which go into the product and what are the various results of that. So, what are the various effects of using the spurious raw materials? All this it will be publishing in the newspapers and it will also be publishing the test results for the benefit of the consumers. So, each and every product is being properly scanned for any of the hazardous things which go into the making of the product and the test reports are also being made available to the consumers to ensure that they refrain from buying such products. Then next one is the role of consumer organization is encouraging consumers to strongly protest and take an action against unscrupulous, exploitative and unfair trade practices of sellers. So they are trying to tell the consumers that they should raise their voice and protest against the unscrupulous, exploitative and unfair trade practices of the businessmen. So in this way, the businessmen, they are aware that the consumers are well informed about the rights and duties. Then next one is providing legal assistance to consumers by way of providing aid, legal advice in seeking legal remedy. Now, these consumer associations, they are also giving legal assistance, like they are giving them legal advice and also aid to fight their cases in the court of law. Then next one is filing complaints in appropriate consumer courts on behalf of the consumers. So as you all know, who can file a complaint? It can be anybody, the consumer himself or the consumer organization on behalf of the consumer. So if the consumer is of a weak mind, then the consumer organization can always file a complaint on behalf of the consumer in any of the courts of law. They will direct him, so which forum to go, whether it is the district forum, the state commission or the national commission. Then taking an initiative in filing cases in consumer courts in the interest of the general public, not for any individual. Consumer Unity and Trust Society, Jaipur. So taking an initiative in filing cases. So these consumer organizations are there. So they will take the initiative in filing the cases if the products are for the public interest. Then if the case is of any interest to the general public and if it is not for any individual, so such cases will be taken by these consumer organizations and they see that proper relief is given. Then next, let us see the various role of the NGOs here. So we have a lot of NGOs who are engaged in consumer protection. The first NGO is the Consumer Coordination Council of Delhi. So it is one council which is protecting the consumers. Then second one is Common Cause. This is another NGO here. Then we also have the Voluntary Organization in Interest of Consumer Education or VOICE, VOICE, VOICE. So it is also one NGO. The next one is CERC, Consumer Education and Research Center, Ahmedabad. So this CERC, it is a NGO which is looking after the interest of the consumers. Then next we have the Consumer Protection Council, Ahmedabad. Then we have the Consumer Guidance Society of India. Then we also have Mumbai Grahak Panchayat, Mumbai. So they are the various NGOs which are engaged in consumer protection. Then in Karnataka we have the Karnataka Consumer Service Society, Consumers Association Kolkata, Consumer Unity and Trust Society, Jaipur. So these are the various NGOs which are engaged in consumer protection for various purposes. So we have come to the end of this session. Hope you have all understood this session. Thank you.